The BJP has fielded MPs and union ministers in the upcoming assembly elections. According to you, will the BJP benefit from the strategy of fielding these big names in the assembly elections? Here are the answers. 41% think that this strategy will be beneficial. 34% say it will not be beneficial. 17% say it will benefit to some extent. That's almost 48% of the respondents thinking it will benefit either to a great extent or to some extent. 1/3 of the respondents feel the strategy will not be beneficial at all. Will this lead to more groupism, lobbying for who becomes the next chief minister? Let's take a look at the responses in this political stock exchange tracker. 46% of the respondents think that this will lead to more lobbying. 37% say no. But the interesting thing there is to look at this 63% of NDA supporters. 63% of NDA supporters, and it's in the NDA that this decision has been taken, feel that the decision to field more ministers and MPs will in fact increase lobbying for the post of chief minister. I want to go across and get our first set of reactions. I'll start with Yashwant Deshmukh. The headline number is that 6 out of 10 NDA supporters think that this decision to field MPs and ministers will increase the amount of lobbying for who gets to be chief minister next. Does that then make this a double-edged sword? It's good because you get these MPs, ministers galvanized, they'll fight their seats, try and ensure that there's a ripple effect on the neighboring seats. The backside though is the flip side though is you don't know who is in charge, and it increases groupism, factionalism, which is never good in an election.
Well, Rahul, I can't really blame the BJP voters or NDA supporters because they are used to the idea of voting for a face. Remember, it's been almost like 30 years that BJP's political narrative has been questioning the opposition. आपका नेता कौन है, आपका CM कौन बनेगा, PM कौन बनेगा, चेहरा कौन है, आपकी टीम का लीडर कौन है. So all these questions has made in the last 3 decades BJP as the party which has been largely contesting election by giving up a face, even putting up a face. You know, even in states like Kerala where they find even single seats to win difficulty, they did put up.
So in this election, they've decided in Rajasthan and in Chhattisgarh, even in Madhya Pradesh to some extent, they're not making the next chief minister's face known clearly. They're going with this collective leadership under the watch of Prime Minister Modi. Does this help them in your view? Does this hurt them?
It might or it might not help. You know, I mean, certainly these states are a bit different, kind of Karnataka-like situation where they decided way in advance that they have to phase out Mr. Yediyurappa. But over here, if they really wish to phase out the sitting faces, they should have probably done a little bit early in the game and came up with alternative faces. I guess what has happened over here is, Rahul, that the faces which they really wanted to phase out are not really phased out from the public memory as such, or largely BJP has been unable to give an alternative state leadership or project a name which could phase out the previous name. So in order to come over this handicap, they probably decided, okay, why not give all these second liners a chance, make them a regional kind of leaders in their own way, and throw a dice, okay, if you can win. I mean, something like which Congress experimented in the Himachal election, that the 3 major regional candidates, leaders, they threw a challenge that, okay, whoever comes back with a larger number of MLAs, we will make that person the chief minister. So
Sinha, I was in Chhattisgarh over the weekend, and the biggest question there in BJP circles and outside is who will be the face? And the problem is, as I spoke to each of the BJP leaders, they're also wondering the same thing. They're all explaining why they're the best to be chief minister. Now, Yashwant makes an important point. The BJP for a very long time fought with a very clearly chosen face. Does this ambiguity run the risk of creating confusion, uncertainty in your ranks?
Well, good evening, Rahul. Good evening, everybody. Well, I would say even in the past, there have been multiple elections where BJP has not gone ahead with a face. You know, some of the examples which come to my mind are 2014 Maharashtra elections, 2015 Jharkhand elections. And when it comes to Chhattisgarh, the issues are so strong the unabashed corruption, the multiplicity of scams that is sufficient to send across the message. We have 4 or 5 brilliant leaders who have been very active on the ground, and any one of them could eventually succeed and become the chief minister. But on the other question that you were asking on the Madhya Pradesh, in the Madhya Pradesh elections where many of the MPs have been fielded, see, ours is a party where winnability and the larger cause for the party always holds precedence over personal ambition. So I have in the past, in my 25 years of association with the BJP, I have seen central level leaders adapt very easily at the state level and vice versa. And we are also devising a customized plan. So what, instead of a one-size-fits-all plan, which the Congress
no, but it unsettles people.
Goes ahead with.
Now, let's look at the plight of Shivraj Singh Chouhan, your tallest leader in Madhya Pradesh. Yashwant Deshmukh's polls very clearly show that he is #1 very clearly, and the other BJP leaders are much below him. Now, he hasn't got a ticket yet. He doesn't know whether he'll be chief minister next. And around him, everyone's wondering the same question. Will he come back? Will he be CM? That really undermines. And if your party itself is not satisfied with his performance, how do you go to the people and tell them to vote you back? You yourself don't seem very impressed with him.
The good part about the BJP is that we don't have insecure leaders. So whatever be the role, even I'm sure Shivraj Singh Chouhan would be more than convinced that the party would take care of his interests and would acknowledge his contribution. So for what I'm trying to say is that even in Maharashtra, you have seen that more than the pad, more than the designation, it's the responsibility which matters. And each of the karyakartas, each of the leaders have risen to the occasion because the larger cause over here becomes more important, which is winning the elections. The rest of the things really don't matter.
Okay, Shama Mohammed, this strategy worked for the Congress in Himachal Pradesh, where Pratibha Singh, Mukesh Agnihotri, Sukhwinder Sukhu were all kept in the fray. You also run, let's see, we'll decide later. It's worked for you in the past, and therefore, there's no reason why the BJP should be anxious about whether this will work. Everyone's giving their best shot, and let the best man or woman triumph later.
Hi, Rahul. I was listening to Tuhil right now. He was speaking of elections and his party like a corporate thing. We have to understand this is a democracy. There are people who rise from grassroots levels. I have been working in my state, Kerala, and elsewhere, and I know what it is to do grassroots politics. They aim for certain things. Sometimes they aim for become a councillor, then a block president, then they want to become an MLA. So it is a step-by-step process. Now, if the central part is taking all this decision, then what happens to the state leaders? Now, you spoke about my state, Himachal. They are all state leaders. Nobody airlifted from elsewhere. And eventually...
No, but none of these leaders have been airlifted either. Narendra Singh Tomar, Fagan Singh Kulaste, anybody who's been made to stand, Prahlad Patel or Kailash Vijayvargiya, they're all formidable leaders in their neck of the woods.
Nobody is denying that, but they are members of parliament, central ministers coming in here. In the case of Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu, he has been a grassroots leader, and we have rewarded a grassroots leader. Let's understand that. Another very important question I want to ask the BJP today. They are talking about one nation, one poll. These ministers will, suppose they win, or the members of parliament win, then there will be a huge number of by-elections. Now, on one side, you talk about one election, one nation, one poll, and the other side, you say there are going to be by-elections. So everything to suit yourself.
So let Tohin Sinha respond to it, because we saw this in Tripura as well, where leaders who were MPs were made to contest later. They were made to give up their assembly election seat. That's a waste of time, energy, resources. Will they stay on as ministers? Will they work in the state? Why put everyone under this uncertainty?
Rahul, you need to understand that BJP has been in government in Madhya Pradesh for a good 20 years if you remove the 1.5 years in between. So some amount of anti-incumbency is bound to happen, and to thwart that, to circumvent that, we are employing surprises. But let me also tell you that we have a customized plan for each state. What works in Madhya Pradesh may not work in Tamil Nadu. It may not work in another state. And that is the beauty of this BJP. It is always on its feet.
Okay,
Personal
let
ambition
Sandeep
is not
Shastri
as
respond to
important
that.
as a
Now,
weak
here's
link,
the thing.
which,
BJP earlier used to say, chehra batao. Now, they are working the strategy for every state based on what's happening in that state. Net, do you think this is advantageous for the BJP, or could it prove counterproductive because everyone's unsettled?
Yeah, is it for me?
Rahul, the BJP hopes with one arrow to hit many targets. Let me quickly tell you 4 targets they are hoping to achieve. Number 1, it brings in the surprise element which BJP is always known for. Nobody had anticipated 7 MPs would be there, 3 ministers would be there in the list in Madhya Pradesh. Secondly, it leaves everyone guessing, including the leaders themselves, as to what would happen in the future, and nobody is assured of getting a position. Thirdly, the BJP also would like to show that we have no dearth of leadership in our party. And lastly, it shows that no one is indispensable for the party. However, I think the point being made that when you field MPs, especially 3 of them ministers in the government, and if they were all to win, are we going to then see 7 by-elections to the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha? What happens to the central ministries that they are handling in the last 7-8 months of the BJP government? If they are going to be retained at the center, you are going to cause 7 by-elections in the state, assuming that these leaders win. If they do not win, of course, there is no challenge which comes up here. So I think these are some of the issues that come up. And as I said, the BJP's aim very clearly is hit many targets with one arrow.
Okay. In fact, some of these leaders have said that they too are surprised by the party's decision to field them. Some didn't comment. The likes of Kailash Vijayvargiya said they weren't expecting this. They weren't particularly keen on contesting. So they've actually come out in public and said that. Let's listen in.
अंदर से खुश नहीं हूं, सच कह रहा हूं, इसलिए कि मेरी लड़ने की इच्छा ही नहीं थी, एकदम 1% भी इच्छा नहीं थी। एक माइंडसेट होता है ना लड़ने का, अपने को तो जाना भाषण, अब बड़े नेता हो गए, अब हाथ जोड़ने का जाते, तो भाषण देना और निकल जाना, भाषण देना और निकल जाना, ये सोचा था हमने तो प्लान ये बनाया था कि रोज 8 सभा करनी है, 5 हेलीकॉप्टर से और 3 कार से। पर आप जो सोचते वो होता क्या, भगवान की जो इच्छा होती वही होता है।
Kailash Vijayvargiya making no bones of the fact that he too is surprised by the fact that he has to fight, and he didn't particularly want to do so.